So this may be one of the most unprecedented stories I've talked about on the Blood Moon Bobby YouTube channel. Let's get into this. Hey everybody, Blood Moon Bobby here. So, in a year where certain movies have been sent to streaming services and digital rental platforms in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, this story may actually take the cake. What is it exactly? Well, Warner Brothers has announced that they're going to release their 2021 film slate in theaters and HBO Max simultaneously. So this isn't a case where like a few films come to a streaming service or a digital rental platform. No, this is Warner basically announcing that their 2021 film catalog will be coming to their HBO Max streaming service the day the movies are released in theaters. Now, the movies that are included on this list include The Suicide Squad, The Matrix 4, Dune, Godzilla vs. Kong, and Tom and Jerry. If you want to see an entire list, I have this snippet here from Warner's press release that I'll have linked down below in the description. And to be clear, the movies will not be put on HBO Max permanently. They're going to be on the service for a 1-month period that starts when they play at US theaters. THR, the Hollywood Reporter, said that Warner's 2021 slate will roll out to theaters internationally since HBO Max is only available in the US at the moment. And this is what the chair and CEO of Warner Media Studios and Networks Group, Ann Sarnoff, had to say regarding this announcement. Quote, "We're living in unprecedented times which call for creative solutions, including this new initiative for the Warner Brothers Pictures Group. No one wants films back on the big screen more than we do. We know new content is the lifeblood of theatrical exhibition, but we have to balance this with the reality that most theaters in the US will likely operate at reduced capacity throughout 2021. With this unique one-year plan, we can support our partners in exhibition with a steady pipeline of world-class films while also giving moviegoers who may not have access to theaters or aren't quite ready to go back to the movies the chance to see our amazing 2021 films. We see it as a win-win for film lovers and exhibitors, and we're extremely grateful to our filmmaking partners for working with us on this innovative response to these circumstances." And Warner has emphasized that these plans are pandemic only. So honestly, when I first heard this news early on Thursday, it was really mind-blowing to me because this is the kind of announcement that earlier this year would be just unthinkable. I mean, THR points out this upset a business model that has been in place for decades, and that business model is generally when theatrical movies are released in theaters, they stay in theaters for 90 days before coming over to home video. And honestly, I think if Warner made this announcement earlier this year, the movie theaters would have freaked big time. I mean, when you look back earlier this year when Universal and DreamWorks Animation came out with a Trolls World Tour, and I remember Universal said that they were pleased with the results of Trolls World Tour's digital rental numbers, and they said they would consider releasing movies both in theaters and on digital services at the same time. And when that happened, you might remember the theater chains freaked. I remember like AMC and Regal were really upset. Now, granted, ever since then, and in AMC, in particular, AMC and Universal have patched things up, and that's why now Universal is going down the route of having shorter theatrical windows where they have the ability to release some of their movies for a shorter amount of time in theaters before they can be released on home video. Now, that's not to say that I'm against this move from Warner and HBO Max, and if anything, this would make it easier to see the movies they're releasing that I plan to review. Like I did a trailer reaction to the upcoming Tom and Jerry movie, which is now coming to HBO Max the same day it reaches theaters. If you want to watch my trailer reaction, I'll include it as a card in this video. It'll be right up here. But yeah, it'll make it easier for film fans, especially if 2021 is still kind of a sketchy year. Like if the coronavirus still remains a problem for much of 2021, it would give more people a way to see movies like Dune or The Matrix 4 or Space Jam 2 or many of these movies that lots of film fans have been waiting for. And I could see a move like this boosting HBO Max's numbers, which many sources that I researched say is not doing particularly well. And if consumers hear that, hey, you'll be able to watch all these movies on Warner's HBO Max service is from the comfort of your own home, and you don't have to go out to a movie theater to watch it. Like if you're really, if you're concerned about the coronavirus, then this is an option for you. From the research I've done, I think one big concern, though, as much as I do like HBO Max and I've used the service to review shows like Infinity Train and Close Enough, and I am interested in checking out Tom and Jerry on the service, I think one risk Warner is taking with this move is that HBO Max doesn't nearly have as much subscribers compared to Netflix. If anything, it sounds like the service really isn't doing well. Again, and I really can't think of some reasons as to why the service isn't doing super well. So the risk Warner is taking with this move is they may not recoup as much money as they would if they released the movies theatrically in theaters. I also imagine something that has influenced this decision is Christopher Nolan's Tenet, because that movie was released theatrically last summer. And for one thing, I heard that in some ways it actually put Warner in some good graces with movie theater chains. But on the flip side, if you look at the movie's box office numbers, it hasn't done really well. I imagine because a lot of people still aren't going to be going to movie theaters due to the coronavirus pandemic. I also suspect, I've heard from people that Tenet is a very kind of complicated movie, and I think that might also turn away some people. But I think a big chunk of why Tenet didn't do as well as it probably could have at the box office due to the coronavirus pandemic. So I think that's another reason why Warner went down this road where they're going to release their 2021 movies both in theaters and on HBO Max simultaneously. So the two big questions I have in the final thoughts in this video are basically, will this business plan stick? Like, is this just going to be for 2021, or could this, potentially go on in the following years, and will other studios follow suit? Now, one of the Warner execs didn't want to get into predicting this in the really long term, like what's going to happen in the years following 2021. And I'm also really on the fence as well, because I even now, like when the coronavirus pandemic goes away, I know people have been talking about a potential vaccine. It's hard for me to imagine, like, even though yes, people talk about streaming is the future and so forth. It's really hard for me to imagine, especially in a near future when the coronavirus pandemic subsides and as time passes, that it's hard for me to imagine a future where people are where people completely say screw it, I'm just gonna go watch my movies on Netflix, HBO Max, and Disney Plus, and just screw movie theaters. I still think that movie theaters still could have a chance. Obviously, right now they don't, because coronavirus pandemic is still going on, and lots of people don't want to take the risk and go see movies in a really public place, even with things like cleaning regulations and so forth. I still think that movie theaters could still have a chance when the coronavirus pandemic subsides. And I know that Warner has said in the quote that I mentioned in this video that another concern they have is some consumers, even when the pandemic subsides, may not be comfortable with going back to theaters right after the pandemic subsides. But I think that at in the months following, people will still be interested in seeing the movies on the big screen again. And I imagine, because even doing the research for the video, it sounds like in an ideal world, Warner would still want to release the movies in theaters because it's a much bigger platform for them than HBO Max. But since people are staying home now, they have to do what they have to do. Another question I have is, will other studios follow suit? I think that's honestly a really complicated question to ask because it's really a matter of like, how much these studios value you releasing movies and relying on box office numbers. That's why we see, studios like Disney continue to delay some of their movies for instance. And it's also a matter of the studios not wanting to piss off the movie theater chains because they still rely on the theater chains to make much of their money. It's just that they can't really do it right now due to the coronavirus pandemic. But as far as whether I think other studios are going to do a similar thing, like will we see Universal or Disney pull a thing where they're like, hey, let's release more of our entire 2021 lineup, both in theaters and on our own digital services? I think that really remains to be seen. Like if you look at like what Disney is up to now, they've released the Mulan remake on Disney Plus and charged a rather hefty additional fee for that, and they're also planning to release the Pixar movie Soul on Disney Plus on Christmas Day. You look at Universal, they're going the route of shortened theatrical release windows, and that's why we see that the new movie, The Croods: A New Age, is currently in theaters right now. They're not going the route where it's like, hey, let's release it in theaters and Peacock at the exact same time. Going back to Disney, the New York Times points out that Disney will be holding an investor day next week to announce plans for their streaming services. And the site speculates that the upcoming Cruella movie, which I'm really excited for, could become a online release. So I think it's really up in the air. I know some really strange shit has happened. Well, that's an understatement in regards to the entire coronavirus pandemic. I know some really crazy things have happened, and I personally didn't see a day coming where Soul was coming to Disney Plus, and now it is. And I certainly didn't expect Warner to release their 2021 films on HBO Max the day they come out in theaters for a temporary period. Earlier this year, I couldn't even imagine things like that happening, but we'll have to see how it goes for the other studios. And I will say that as much as I am interested in seeing how this plays out for Warner and HBO Max. At the same time, I'm still a person who's still going back to movie theaters when it becomes a lot safer to see them again. Like I'm the sort of person who, when I get the chance, when my friends ask me, do you want to go see like 1917 or Star Wars or Blade Runner 2049 on the big screen, I always say yes, because I really like seeing them on the big screen and having that really incredible sound, like something that I certainly can't get from watching movies from an iPad or a laptop. Basically, when given the option, if I get the chance to go see either big budget movies or Oscar or worthy movies on the big screen, I go for it. So let me know your thoughts down below. What do you personally think of Warner temporarily releasing their movies on HBO Max the day they come out in theaters? Are you planning to watch these movies? Which of their films are you personally excited for? Leave all those thoughts down below, and until next time, this has been Blood Moon Bobby, and thank you all for watching. Hi everyone, thanks for watching this Blood Moon Bobby video. Like and share the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel to see more of my videos, and ring the bell to be notified about my latest uploads. Don't forget to follow me on social media for my latest opinions and video updates. I hope to see you next time.